Good morning. Welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Buffalo. My name is Moshe Cohen, and I am a worship associate at this church. With love at the center of all that we do, we are UUCB, and we're happy to be together in this sanctuary and on YouTube. We strive to make the world a better place for all while exploring the great mysteries of this journey called life. No matter where you come from, how you got here, how you identify, or whom you love, this church is a safe place. We're blessed to be here in this space of worship to acknowledge the land upon which our church rests is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee people. The Haudenosaunee is a Native American confederation consisting of 6 different tribes. The Confederacy was created for those tribes to unite and work together towards common goals and defense against outside threats, and as such is believed to be the oldest surviving participatory democracy in the world. We're grateful for the wonderful music program under the leadership of Dr. Jesse Jones that enhances our services. We're grateful for the tech team who shares their talents, and to our ushers who keep things running smoothly without fanfare, and to the myriad other employees and volunteers who provide the glue that keeps our congregation strong. Many announcements you'll see in your bulletin again, so I'm going to leave most of those to your reading. One I would draw to your attention is the important refugee resettlement efforts supported by our church. They've suffered a serious setback in the form of an abrupt end to promised funds from our federal government, leaving them with $1 million shortfall in their budget. This includes disruption of support for the Congolese family we assisted in December. You may help make up for the shortfall with a gift to refugeepartnership.org. If you are able, please be generous. Now, in addition to the other announcements in your bulletin, RE Director Jess Pond is working with a small group of certified OWL, Our Whole Lives, instructors from our congregation to put together OWL classes for kids at the high school level. This is particularly vital work in the atmosphere of misinformation and exclusion we find ourselves in regarding issues of sexuality and gender identification in particular. This requires online training to become an OWL facilitator. The next training will be conducted on Mondays and Thursdays in April from the comfort of your home, and registration for these classes remains open through tomorrow. If you are able to help with this important community outreach effort, please contact Jess Pond and sign up to become a facilitator and work with those of us who are on this important project. And a webinar on responding and organizing in authoritarian times will be held this Tuesday, March 4th, 7 p.m. It's a webinar, so it's online, and you can find a link to the online registration in this week's e-blast. Now, let's take a moment to deepen our connection with old friends and create connections with new ones by greeting our neighbors. And that said, if you prefer to sit quietly, just look and listen, you're welcome to do that as well.
morning. Good morning. I'm Reverend Cathy Harrington, interim minister of this congregation. I have a fantasy for you, for your future. You have two really strong ministries. You have a lot of strong ministries, but the OWL program is a seriously important, life-giving, life-saving ministry of the Unitarian Universalist Association and the United Church of Christ. In these times, we need to be reaching out into the community and offering OWL, not just for us, but for all of the children in this community. So I just wanted to remind you of that. Also, on the back of your order of service, there's a legacy giving workshop upstairs meeting, and this is a really great opportunity to connect with a financial planner. So please come upstairs to the Alliance Room at noon after you've had snacks. And check this out. All right. Opening words this morning I chose are from Scott Taylor, the founder of the Soul Matters group. This morning's service is about joy as resistance. It's really hard to feel joyful sometimes, especially when we see some of the things happening in the White House, especially the mistreatment of Zelensky on Friday. So joy is an important thing to cultivate. Joy doesn't simply arise, it flies, it flings. No, it is flung. It is passed, it is spread between you and me, between the one who just received a gift and the one that has been looking for it. Oh, for so long. It is a beautiful and elegant contagion over which we have more control than we know if only we share it. If only we notice that joy is not ours to keep, but ours to pass on. So let us light up the world, friends. Joy blesses us with its exuberance so we can make that blessing grow. It's good to be together again. Come, let us worship together.
As Cathy lights our chalice, please stand and recite with me our affirmation found in your bulletin. We gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves to create a more just and compassionate world. Now, if you turn to hymn 1024 in your teal hymnals, it's called When the Spirit Says Do, and together we are going to do and sing and dance and laugh. But we're not going to shout. So skip the last verse, please.
We should shout.
Spirit says do, but to do what
So now it's time for the story for all ages. I was very lucky this week to find a story that was really perfect for the sermon, Clowning Your Zen, and also for the spirit of reframing the narrative of empire into one of neighborhood. We don't use the language of oppressor. So this is an important story. I hope you enjoy it. This morning's story is called White Flour, as in the flour you use to bake with. And it's all on a video, so I'm not going to read to you. We're going to watch it up here. And if anybody can't see the screen, let me know. I've got the book right here. This story is written by David Lamotte, and he believes so much in his ministry of this work that he gives it free. He's given us permission to show a video. Okay.
The day was bright and sunny, as most May days tend to be in the hills of Appalachia, down in Knoxville, Tennessee. A dozen men put on their suits and quickly took their places in white robes and those tall and pointed hoods that hid their faces. Their feet fell down in rhythm as they started their parade. They raised their fists into the air, they bellowed and they brayed. They loved to stir the people up. They loved when they were taunted. They didn't mind the anger. It's exactly what they wanted. And as they came around the corner, sure enough, the people roared. But they couldn't quite believe their ears. It seemed to be support. Had Knoxville finally seen the light? Were people coming round? The men thought for a moment that they'd found their kind of town. But then they turned their eyes to where the cheering had its source. As one, their shoulders crumpled when they saw the mighty force. The crowd had painted faces, and some had tacky clothes, their hair and hats outrageous. Each had a bright red nose. The clowns had come in numbers to enjoy the grand parade, and they laughed and danced that other clowns had come to town that day. And then the marchers shouted, and the clowns all strained to hear, each one tuned in intently with a hand cupped to an ear. "White power," screamed the marchers, and they raised their fisted hands. The clowns leaned in and listened like they couldn't understand, and then one held up his finger and helped all the others see the point of all this yelling, and they joined right in with glee. "White flour," the clowns shouted, and they reached inside their clothes. They pulled out bags and tore them, and huge clouds of powder rose. They poured it on each other, and they threw it in the air. It got all over baggy clothes and multicolored hair. Now all but just a few of them were joining in the jokes. You could almost see the marchers turning red beneath white cloaks. They wanted to look scary. They wanted to look tough. One rushed right at the clowns in rage and was hauled away in cuffs. But the others chanted louder, marching on around the bend. The clowns all marched on too, of course, supporting their new friends. "White power," came the marchers' cry. They were not amused. The clowns grew still and thoughtful. Well, perhaps they'd been confused. They huddled and consulted, this bright and silly crowd. They listened quite intently. Then one said, "I've got it now." "White flowers," screamed the happy clown, and all the rest joined in. The air was filled with flowers, and they laughed and danced again. Everyone loves flowers, and white's a pretty sort. I can't think of a better cause for people to support. Green flower stems went flying like small arrows from bad archers, and white petals covered everything, including the mad marchers. And then a very tall clown called the others to attention. He choked down all his chuckles and said, "Friends, I have to mention that what with all this mirth and fun, it's sort of hard to hear, but now I know the cause that these paraders hold so dear." "Tight showers," the clown blurted as he hit his head in wonder. He held up a camp shower, and the others all got under. Or at least they tried to get beneath. They strained but couldn't quite. There wasn't room for all of them. They pushed, but it was tight. "White power," came the mad refrain, quite carefully pronounced. The clowns consulted once again. Then a woman clown announced, "I've got it. I'm embarrassed that it took so long to see, but what these marchers march for is a cause quite dear to me." "Wife power," she exclaimed, and all the other clowns joined in. They shook their heads and laughed at how erroneous they'd been. The women clowns were hoisted up on shoulders of the others. Some pulled on wedding dresses, chanting, "Here's to wives and mothers!" The men in robes were sullen. They knew they'd been defeated. They yelled a few more times, and then they finally retreated. And when they'd gone, a kind policeman turned to all the clowns and offered them an escort through the center of the town. The day was bright and sunny, as most May days tend to be, in the hills of Appalachia, down in Knoxville, Tennessee. People joined the new parade. The crowd stretched out for miles. The clowns passed out more flowers and made everybody smile. And what would be the lesson of that shiny southern day? Can we understand the message that the clowns sought to convey? Seems that when you're fighting hatred, hatred's not the thing to use. So here's to those who march on in their big red floppy shoes.
Did you like it? What was your favorite part? Exactly. They won the battle. Okay, you want to come a little closer? Come if you want to say something to the congregation.
I just came here in the middle of that thing, and why are they throwing white flour everywhere? Was it a white supremacist protest or something? Yeah.
That's right. So they were saying white power, and they pretended they didn't understand.
My favorite part was when they were throwing white flour onto each other.
That was really wonderful. It was brilliant. It teaches us how to counter the oppressor by not using the language of the oppressor. We reframe, and we use joy. Joy as resistance. Did you have something you wanted to say? No, okay. All right, so thank you so much for listening, and you can talk about this story with your folks on the ride home. Now we're going to sing you out to your classes.
Each week, we take a good portion of our Sunday morning offering and give it away to a social justice cause that is outside our church walls. This month, brand new month of March, our Share the Plate recipient is the Jericho Road Community Health Center, which provides full spectrum medical care to all families, regardless of ability to pay. They are also dedicated to providing critical support to refugees and asylum seekers through their Vive Shelter and Hope Refugee Drop-In Center. You can donate in several ways: cash, checks, recurring donations set up through your bank. Regardless of how we give to these causes to support our values. So give generously as you can.
In the center of our service and in the center of our lives, let us pause to honor the silences of the world. Let us open our hearts to the place of quiet and to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. This morning, let us dedicate a moment of silence to the people of Ukraine. Spirit of life and love, love that calls us to love, care that calls us to care, presence that calls us into presence. We give thanks that we have been brought together in this beloved place, this holy sanctuary, this sacred harbor where we bring ourselves as we are in times of sorrow, in times of joy, in times of confusion and fear, in times of clarity, and in times of quiet acceptance. In our efforts to pay closer attention to our inner lives, to each other and the world around us, may we notice divine essence today, however this essence expresses itself. May we cultivate presence and awe while we attune to murmurs and shimmers within us and around us, whether it be the spark of a new idea, a vulnerable share from someone we love, or unexpected warmth from someone we don't know. May we continue to attune to what Reverend Howard Thurman called the sound of the genuine within ourselves. May we be quiet enough and still enough to notice the deep call within us that lures us toward what matters most. This call that lures us towards freedom and purpose. We ask for guidance and space and time to do just that so we can lead the lives we feel most called to live. May we continue to cultivate the practice of paying close attention so that more people feel lovingly held in our hurting world. And may we meet this moment and all moments ahead with spaciousness and presence. Amen. Those words by Kate Steinberg. This morning we especially hold in our hearts Kate Belschwade, board member, who is currently in the hospital after complications from a fall. She does hope to be released today, but she will need a little TLC because it'll be a 2 to 3 month recovery. A memorial service for Sylvia Coles, who died in December, will be held on Saturday at 10 a.m. And Robert Bukaki died January 30th. He was a longtime member. And now let us fill this sacred space with the names of loved ones we hold close in our hearts this morning, some suffering in sorrow and some celebrating in joy. And may they feel our embrace. The breath of nature is upon us, the spirit of life is within us, and the community of love surrounds us. So be it, blessed be, and let the church say, Amen.
I'd like to thank Sue Lee for sharing their gifts on organ with us this morning. Those moments of beauty are so appreciated. The reading this morning is called Manifesto, The Mad Farmer Liberation Front by Wendell Berry. Love the quick profit, the annual raise, vacation with pay, want more of everything ready-made. Be afraid to know your neighbors and to die, and you will have a window in your head. Not even your future will be a mystery anymore. Your mind will be punched in a card and shut away in a little drawer, and when they want you to buy something, they'll call you. When they want you to die for profit, they'll let you know. So friends, every day do something that won't compute. Love the Lord, love the world, work for nothing. Take all that you have and be poor. Love someone who does not deserve it. Denounce the government and embrace the flag. Hope to live in that free republic for which it stands. Give your approval to all you cannot understand. Praise ignorance for what man has not encountered, he has not yet destroyed. Ask the questions that have no answers. Invest in the millennium. Plant sequoias. Say that your main crop is the forest that you did not plant, that you will not live to harvest. Say that the leaves are harvested when they have rotted into the mold. Call that profit. Prophesy such returns. Put your faith in the 2 inches of humus that will build under the trees every 1,000 years. Listen to carrion. Put your ear close and hear the faint chattering of the songs that are to come. Expect the end of the world. Laugh. Laughter is immeasurable. Be joyful, though you've considered all the facts. So long as women do not go cheap for power, please women more than men. Ask yourself, will this satisfy a woman satisfied to bear a child? Will this disturb the sleep of a woman near to giving birth? Go with your love to the fields and lie down in the shade, rest your head in her lap. Swear allegiance to what is nighest in your thoughts. As soon as the generals and the politicos can predict the motions of your mind, lose it. Leave it as a sign to mark the false trail, the way you didn't go. Be like the fox who makes more tracks than necessary, some in the wrong direction. Practice resurrection.
Thank you, Moshe. So, clowning your Zen. How do I write a sermon about clowning your Zen? So I was on sabbatical many years ago, my one and only sabbatical, and I spent several weeks with the Faithful Fools in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. The main point of my sabbatical was to rest and restore and renew and to work on my Doctor of Ministry degree. My proposal was transforming violence, a compassionate response. But within a few weeks of merging myself in my sabbatical, uninterrupted spiritual practice, knitting socks, studying, resting, I became conscious of the power of the arts, of the drama, the music, and the visual arts, and the necessity of the fool. Co-founder of the Faithful Fools, Kay Jorgensen, was my teacher and my mentor, and she was a mime. Her alter ego was Oscard. She spoke at my ordination. She and Carmen came to Ludington, Michigan the second year of my service there and performed the play, The Witness. Kay was coping with late-stage Parkinson's disease, but she never wavered from her call. She would do street retreats and go and sleep on the streets and go to Nicaragua, even though she was bent over with Parkinson's. I had recently lost another mentor and teacher, Cheryl Chohan. My mentors, and then while I was on sabbatical, my grief counselor died, and I went home early to his funeral. So I think about how grateful I am to have had those mentors who continue to inform my life. And I hope as I speak, you might also be remembering those people who touched your lives and who are no longer with us. So Bernie Glassman, Roshi Bernie Glassman, he's the one who wrote the book Bearing Witness. The Faithful Fools fashioned their ministry after Bernie's street retreats in New York City. And he also does street retreats, Bearing Witness retreats at Auschwitz-Birkenau, a way of going into the darkness and illuminating it, is the way they put it. And this is the work of the Faithful Fools that they've been doing for over 26 years. So when Kay heard that I was coming to stay for a while, she told me that there was a Clowning Your Zen workshop taught by Bernie Glassman himself and another famous clown, Moshe Cohen. How could I not do that? And so I decided to go. I did also, a year later, accompany Bernie at one of his retreats at Auschwitz as well. And so it was really a privilege to participate in that Clowning Your Zen workshop. It was hilarious, actually, and it was hard. I don't know if you've ever tried to do a tug of war with someone when there's no rope. That was our first exercise. So this Clowning Your Zen, I thought, had nothing to do with my doctoral project, but everything to do with my personal journey towards wholeness and to find my capacity for joy again. So here's what Henry Miller wrote about clowns. A clown is a poet in action. He is the story which he enacts. The clown teaches us to laugh at ourselves. Joy is like a river. It flows ceasingly. It seems to me that this is the message which the clown is trying to convey, that we should participate through the ceaseless flow and movement, and that we should not stop to reflect, compare, analyze, possess, but flow on and through endlessly like music. This is the gift of surrender, and the clown makes it symbolically. And Lewis Hyde writes in The Faithful Fool's Bible, "The trickster makes the world." The trickster is a boundary crosser. Every group has its edge, its sense of in and out, and the trickster is always there at the gates of the city and the gates of life, making certain there is commerce. He also attends the internal boundaries by which groups articulate their social life. We are always trying to distinguish between right and wrong, sacred and profane, clean and dirty, male and female, young and old, living and dead. And in every case, the trickster will cross the line and confuse the distinction. Do something that does not compute, right? The art of clowning has been around for thousands of years. A pygmy clown performed as a jester in the court of Pharaoh Dadkeri Assi during Egypt's 5th dynasty, about 2500 BC. Court jesters have performed in China since 1818 BC, and throughout the history, most cultures have had clowns. When Cortez conquered the Aztec nation in 1520 AD, he discovered Montezuma's court, including jesters similar to those in Europe. Aztec fools, dwarf clowns, hunchback buffoons were among the treasures Cortez took back to the Pope. Most Native American tribes have some sort of clown character, and these clowns play an important role in the social and religious life of the tribe. And in some cases, they were believed to actually cure diseases. But the clowns, the jesters, were given a really powerful freedom of speech. And often they were the only ones who had the courage to speak out against the rulers. And through their humor, they actually were able to affect policies. In 300 BC, the Chinese emperor oversaw the building of the Great Wall of China, and thousands of laborers were killed during its construction. He planned to have the wall painted, which would have resulted in thousands more people dying. His jester, Su Si Yu, was the only one who dared criticize the plan. He jokingly convinced the emperor to abandon his plan, and he is now remembered today as a Chinese national hero. We remember Emmett Kelly, his circus clown alter ego, Weary Willie, based on Depression-era hobos. Most clowns are known for their funny antics, but Kelly's sad clown character became popular during the Great Depression because he connected so with the downtrodden and the poor people who were struggling this difficult time. People down on their luck could identify with Willie and actually even laugh about their situations. He brought them hope that they could outlast the bad times. And then there's the son of the alcoholic circus clown who died 3 months before his fourth son was born, Red Skelton. He was born into poverty, and he was a paper boy trying to earn a living, and someone in the industry saw him delivering papers and bought every single paper he had and then took him under his wing. He was, the rest is history. He enlightened Americans for decades and was inducted into the International Clown Hall of Fame in 1989. He was pretty much a genius, I think you may know, that he composed songs and 64 symphonies, 4,000 short stories, 8,000 songs, and 64 symphonies. He was a humanitarian. Marcel Marceau. He was born in Strasbourg, France, and when France entered World War II, Marceau, 16, fled with his family to Limoges. And his 1944, his father, a kosher butcher, was captured and sent to Auschwitz. Before being taken to the crematorium, his name was not registered. His mother did survive. So Marcel and his older brother adopted the last name Marceau during the German occupation, and the name was chosen as reference to Séverin Marceau, who was a general of the French Revolution. And they joined the French resistance. Then, dressed as scout leaders, they saved numerous children from race laws and concentration camps. And after the liberation of Paris, they joined the French army. Marcel, he used mime as a way to keep the children quiet so that he could save their lives. And so we all know Marcel Marceau, and his legacy, which began as resistance. Charlie Chaplin was also thrown on his own at age 10 at the death of his father and the illness of his mother. So he and his brother had to fend for themselves, and so they took to the stage. And also, the rest is history. Chaplin became an independent film producer when he came to America. And he did The Great Dictator, if you remember that, if you've ever seen that movie. It was released in 1940. It was clearly a satire against Nazism and Hitler. The United States was formally at war was still formally at peace with Nazi Germany at the time. And his film advanced a stirring, controversial condemnation of Hitler, fascism, anti-Semitism, and the Nazis. So he wrote at the end of that film these words. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke, it is written, "The kingdom of God is within man, not one man or one group of men, but in all men. You, the people, have power. The power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future, and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never do. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us unite. So Zen master Bernie Glassman was also a clown, spiritual leader. He had a PhD in applied mathematics, gave it up to become a Zen master, created the Zen Peacemakers in 1999. Moshe Cohen is a member of the Clowns Without Borders. Bernie and Moshe traveled all over the world. Bernie has passed away, but Moshe continues to do that for the past 40 years. He's been teaching people to connect in the depth with their sense of humor, their funniness, their lightness, to enjoy in the expression in it, and then also to then use it to help heal the world. Joy is resistance. So they go to war-torn countries where children are so deeply traumatized that they don't laugh, and they help them laugh. They bring them joy. They teach them to be in touch with their life again. So on Saturday morning, the workshop began, and Bernie and Moshe gave a Dharma talk. They called it an exercise in reverent irreverence. Of course, they came in with clown noses and carrying on. It was a hilarious entrance. So Moshe is Mr. Yuhu, and Bernie is the Bodhisattva, the founder of the Order of Disorder, the prophet of the Order of Disorder, and Nostradamus could predict the past. He said, "We hope to disturb you." It's a very important tradition in the Buddhist tradition is to disturb, because getting accustomed to our rituals is a problem. And disturbers must be ready to be yelled at by the people who don't like to be disturbed. So Bernie said that beyond that there are further ramifications. So alert, I'm going to swear, okay? Beyond that, there are future ramifications, quoting a Buddhist master and calling it one of his big Lebowski koans. There are further ramifications. Translation, new shit has come to light. Mr. Yuhu and Bodhisattva came into the Zen Center to lighten things up. In other words, enlightenment. So Bernie says that those who are interested in fully attaining the Dharma, forget about it. It ain't gonna happen. And if you can forget about it, you're starting off in really good shape. We learned how to bow backwards. So in the Buddhist tradition, and some of us have adopted this, we go namaste. So in the tradition of backward bowing is the contrarian tradition, which is also coming from the Lakota tradition, Heyoka. They are, in Heyoka, the tribes have a contrarian, a jester, or a sacred clown. And so instead of bowing forward, we do this. Opening to life. So the Heyokas are thought as being backwards, forwards, upside down, and contrary. This spirit is often by doing things backward or unconventionally, like riding a horse backwards, wearing your clothes inside out. Speaking in a backwards language. If food is scarce, the Heyoka would sit around and complain how full they are. And during a baking hot heat wave, Heyoka would shiver with cold and put on gloves and cover himself with a thick blanket. If it was 40 degrees below freezing, you'll wander around naked, complaining that it's too hot. They are A unique example of the Heyoka sacred clown is called the straighten outer. So Moshe said there's no less respect in the backward bowing than forward bowing. He said, I am opening to what may be. I am vulnerable to the forces of the universe. And so, yeah, I found my clown name. It takes a while, so that's part of it, is you go through the workshop, you learn how to let go. You know, it's embarrassing sometimes to try and act like you're clowning, especially when other people are watching. So it's breaking old habits. My clown name is Ursula Sunflower. And I would go walking through the Tenderloin district dressed up in my costume with my frizzy hair, like big pigtails. My hair was longer then. And pretend that I was walking a dog, an invisible dog. And I would walk my dog, and then I'd go, oh, and I'd reach down and I'd pick up poop, you know, and tie it up. And so it was pretty funny. I'm going to cut this a little short. Gosh, I could talk for days about this. So Moshe Cohen, so cute. I had a huge crush on Moshe. He said, the only prop you need is bubbles. So I bought some bubbles and I headed to UN Plaza in the Tenderloin district. And when I lifted the wand to blow bubbles, I didn't have to blow bubbles. The wind was so great. It was just, whew, it was just everywhere. Bubbles were everywhere. And people started taking pictures of me and laughing at me. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. When people think you're already crazy, you've got nothing to lose, right? It was so great. No rejection, no inhibition. So the theme of my sabbatical was not my doctoral project, but it was Project Joy. And so just leave you with the goals of the workshops. If you ever get a chance to take a Clowning Your Zen workshop, they do them all over the world, and there are actually, I think, many in the United States happening now too. The goals are to expand your humor capacities, to explore being present and presenting with an engaged, connected, mindful sense of humor, complicity, connectivity, and delight, laughter, sharing laughter, and smiling from deep within inside you. Open up your world to ridiculousness, playfulness, and absurdity. Do something that does not compute. I love that. Practice resurrection. Give your intellectual control a vacation. It's hard. Try it. Invigorate your sense of joy and wonder. We should bring Moshe Cohen here to do a Clowning Your Zen class. Wouldn't that be fun? I'm going to write to him. Okay. I think I'm done. Oh, no, I'm not done. Now I'm done. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Our final hymn is also in our teal hymnals, number 1030, Siahamba.
God's frozen people. Lighten up. Sorry. Am I ready? We're ready. Oh, no, we're going to do the chalice.
Please affirm with me the words in our bulletins. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
These words are by Margaret Renkel. We are creatures built for joy. Even at the very saddest funerals, we can hear a funny story about our lost beloved, and God help us, we laugh. We can stagger out of an appointment where a person in a white coat gives us the news that we do not want to hear, and still we smile at a baby in the checkout line, clapping her chubby hands at the balloons. This is who we are. This is the best of who we are. The world is burning, and there is no time to put down the water buckets. So just for an hour every day, put down the water buckets anyway. Take your cue from the bluebirds who have no faith in the future, but who will build for the future nevertheless. Leaf by leaf, straw by straw, shaping and turning them into a sheltering roundness, perfecting, fitted to the contours of the future that they are making. Look up to the sky and listen. The world is shivering with possibility. The world is reminding us this is what the world does best. New life, rebirth, the greenness that rises out of the ashes. Folks, practice resurrection. Namaste.